IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach Podcast, the bite-sized podcast filled with quick and easy actionable habits. Remember, great habits create that awesome life. I am Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach. And today's fun fact of the day has to do with archery. Did you know that there is an actual shot in archery called the Robin Hood? Now, all of you that are familiar with the story of Robin Hood know that he was an expert marksman, a wizard with the bow and arrow. And in one competition with the evil sheriff of Nottingham, this epic shot takes place. The sheriff has already shot at the target and his arrow is now lying perfectly in the middle of the target, making it impossible for Robin Hood to shoot at the target and hit the center. As a result, Robin Hood shoots an arrow that hits the sheriff's arrow, splitting it in two, and thus winning the competition. Now, while cinema has made this sound like a big deal, it is actually pretty common when you're practicing archery. So common, in fact, that I have done it last year, completely by mistake, of course. I was shooting at a target and one of the arrows hit and split the other in half. The excitement of that shot is overshadowed by soon realizing that now you have one less arrow to shoot with, and arrows are very expensive. Today's podcast is about learning from the principles of archery. There is a very common expression, and I'm sure you've heard it before, that you can only shoot an arrow after you've pulled it back. Now, this means that in order for the arrow to fly and go over great distances, it has to first move backwards. It has to go in the opposite direction of where it wants to go. And by doing so, it gathers all the potential energy it needs to blast forward and soar away. Now, as modern humans, we are so obsessed with growth and moving forward that we often forget this principle. We see people on social media boast about their life and are desperate to see the same thing happen to us. More often than not, we want what is influenced by outside parameters. How will people see us? How will people judge us? And these are the things that drive us. And if we are so concerned by people and how they will see us, we will never give ourselves the leeway or the patience to be pulled back. We will never allow ourselves to be stagnant while our energy grows, energy to propel us forward. This is why so many of us are stuck in the same life, same job, same relationships, because we are so concerned with what people will think of us if we pause or if we take a step backwards before we're ready to charge ahead. Now, I know this is true in my own life. When I had to quit my job and move on to this uncharted territory of habit coaching. When I started, there was no such thing as a habit coach. In fact, I created this category, and the number of people who tried to ridicule me was amazing. But I knew I had to pull back. I had to take time and create the potential energy before shooting ahead. Now, some of you might be at this stage in your life. Today's habit is for you. It is the habit of patience. As your habit coach, I want you to realize that moving backwards is still movement. If you know where you're headed afterwards, I want you to know that stillness is retaining potential energy, but if only you know where you're going afterwards. If you do not have a plan or direction for where you're planning to head after being pulled back, then this is where the mistakes take place. That is a waste of time. So your super simple habit to shoot ahead in the game of life starts by knowing where you are headed. Then get into the habit of being patient and not being affected by societal pressures as you pull back and build up your potential energy. Then, when the time is right, release the energy and shoot forward like an arrow being shot from Robin Hood's bow. Usually in a podcast, it's me who speaks to you and you who listens. But I've been seeing your comments and it's time. It's me listening to you. Following the overwhelming success of this podcast, the good folks at IVM Podcast Network have decided to come up with a Kannada adaptation of the show. For those who prefer listening to it in that language, do make sure you let your Kannada speaking friends know about this as well. Now, if you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am at Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. We have a brand new habit coaching online course, quizzes, videos, and a lot more on the website awesome180.com. So check it out now.
Hello, everybody. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Mind the Gender Gap, host Naina Kumar talks to experts Niharika Vora and Dipti Ravula about the social, structural, and economic barriers women entrepreneurs face. On Big Talk About Tiny Humans, Devi Shobha and Meghna explain how to talk to children about porn. Can you be forced to vote? Host Priya Mirza talks about this on The Longest Constitution. On Press Decode, Sarah Vagda and Prafulla discuss the recent controversy surrounding Indian languages. And on Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav shares exactly what India's culinary heritage can teach us. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, we've been doing a series of profiles of people within the office, so do check that out for sure. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platforms you're listening on. And you can also check us out on YouTube. We have a page on our website, ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, with a list of all our channels. We're also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you, the listener, responds to the advertising on our network. And also, we just want to know a little bit more about you. We would really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it out. It will really help us build some better shows for you. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week, SBI Life Insurance and Jupiter, a digital banking app. There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey.